Ladies and gentlemen, unicorns and other blockchain enthusiasts, welcome to the third episode of the Stakin podcast. My name is Giselle, and today we are sitting down with the wonderful conductor of Vorbal and co-builder of Desmos, Kwun. Thank you so much for joining us. It's really great to have you here. So we're going to talk about Desmos today, and obviously I'm very enthusiastic and very excited to hear what you have to tell us. But before we do that, would you mind just telling a little bit about yourself and your journey in blockchain?
Okay, I'm Kwun. I'm the co-founder of Vorbal. And before co-founding Vorbal, actually, I had another startup, which is a creative agency. And I work with Terrence since the creative agency. And then, so we did a lot of we help the clients to develop some digital marketing strategy to help them raise the awareness of the brands, and then, like using Google or Facebook or Instagram to distribute the messages. And also we built some applications to interact with them. So we understand social media and advertising pretty well. And then, so suddenly in 2017, we studied about blockchain, and then we realized that actually we could use blockchain to solve a lot of issues that we have seen on social media for ages. Then we started thinking if we can build something on blockchain, and then we co-founded Vorbal, and then start studying developing a decentralized social network on blockchain. And then we learned about Cosmos, and then we realized that if we would like to build a blockchain using Cosmos SDK, then we need to find some validators. And then we didn't know anything about validators. So then we had to learn what is a validator. Then I joined the validator chat and then started studying how to be a validator. And then this is how we started become a validator, and then learned about Cosmos SDK. And since 2019, we realized, we finally think, okay, this is the way to work on a decentralized network. And then we developed a proof of concept in the hackathon in Seoul. And then we started the proof of concept of Desmos.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty interesting, and it's quite a long journey that you've got there, but definitely very nice to know. So can I ask you why you chosen Cosmos instead of any other blockchain out there?
Oh, originally we were thinking if we can build something on Ethereum, but after studying how Ethereum works, we think it's not good for social network. Because the throughput is not fast enough for any social interactions. So we started studying different platforms, and then we learned about Steam, and then we studied about Steam, and then we saw that Steam is like is a medium-like platform, right? A blocking system, but they are totally on blockchain. And then we realized that there are different kinds of consensus engine. And then we came across Tendermint and Cosmos SDK. And then I did a lot of research on the founders of Tendermint, so Kwun and Yvonne Buckman. And then I was like, and I fell in love with the concept of Cosmos, how to link different blockchains together. And any chain can connect to the Cosmos ecosystem with IBC, and that is, and I think that is the solution for actually scaling blockchain.
Absolutely.
So we then chose Cosmos SDK.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's like Cosmos promotes itself as the internet of blockchains, right? So for a social media blockchain or new social media network, it makes complete sense to be one a part of a decentralized internet, basically.
Right.
So usually we start with this question, which is for someone that is not aware with and doesn't know Desmos, could you tell me exactly what it is and what makes it unique compared to other projects?
Okay. So Desmos is is a blockchain, and then it's the backbone of social media networks. So we don't say Desmos itself is a social network because we don't want to be a single application. Like we don't want to be a Facebook, or we don't want to be an Instagram, but instead we would like to be the backbone of these social network apps. So we developed some protocols, and then we developed different tools for developers to create their own interface for different communities. And so like we have the identity, which is the Desmos profile. We have some coming modules like the post, the relationship, or blocking, for example. And then we are going to integrate Cosmos as well, so that different developers, they could create their own tokenomics using Cosmos. And we have a module called Subspace, which different apps they could store their own post messages on their own subspace and interact with their own community. So and then we would like Desmos to be like the similar to the single login to different social apps.
All right. Well, that sounds very good to me. I'm in, definitely. And so, obviously, Desmos is also created to solve some of the problems with more traditional social media. Could you tell us a little bit more about KYC and obtaining private data, like taking care of that from a blockchain perspective? Like, how does that work?
So usually, like the current social network, like on Facebook or like Instagram or any kind of, or even Twitter, right? So they try to ask for the real identity of the user, and then they try to track the user behaviors. But on blockchain, because everything is open, everything is in public, we would like to use that to educate the end users that every footprint that you're going to do on those social apps will be recorded on the chain. And then eventually they would not do anything that really they would not do anything that too sensitive to themselves. And we encourage the users not to use their real identity as the profile. Instead, you can create your profile, or you can create multiple personas on Desmos. And what you have to do is to link to your different accounts, because your different accounts actually have the history of what you have done. Could be on chain, or could be on different social networks, right? Then that is your identity. That is your profile, which can be not your real life identity.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So it works kind of the other way around. Basically, you create your identity based on your transactions and activities on the chain.
Exactly.
All right, that makes total sense.
You could be like a delegator to some validators, or maybe you have participated in some governance, right? Or maybe you are a liquidity provider on Osmosis, right?
Yeah. And so, how come you have chosen to become the platform behind the scenes, basically, for all those people? And also, how is it going so far? How is adoption going? What can you tell us about it?
So originally we thought of building, like, maybe use the chain as the backbone of a Twitter-like app, and then we have done an experiment which is called Mooncake. So we have built an app called Mooncake before, and then we realized that users would not jump from Twitter to another Twitter.
No. Yeah. Right. Okay.
So and then we actually found that if we would like to introduce the idea of decentralized social network, basically different users may have different personas, and then they would like to jump onto different social networks. But sometimes they would like to share those different reputations as well. I'm not sure if you have like if you have used like Stack Overflow before. So
No, I haven't. No.
it's something called, so they are part of the Stack Exchange, and then they have different kinds of it's like a Q&A site. So they have different kinds of Q&A, and then they have a single profile that you can share to different Q&A sites.
Okay.
Then at the end, actually, you can see that maybe someone has a very good reputation on Stack Exchange, on like Stack Overflow, and this at the same time, the same user could have zero reputation in another Q&A site under Stack Exchange, but you can link back to Stack Overflow and see that okay, this guy has already contributed to the community for like certain period of time.
Yeah. So that will make it interesting for other people to join new communities as well.
Yeah. Then if we run Desmos as the backbone, and then we let different developers or community to build their own community, but they eventually could share the reputation or the history of a profile or identity, then it could benefit to the end users, because they don't have to rebuild, or they don't have to prove they have done something or contributed to the community before.
Right. Okay, awesome. So yeah, it really gives you a good way to connect and build on a social, well, a social cosmos, basically, right? And so, can you tell us a little bit more about the role of Desmos native token relating to being this platform?
Right. The native token, DSM, is the staking token of the platform, and currently is using for staking and also as the fee token for transactions.
Right.
So this will be the main utility of the token. And then because we're integrating Cosmos, we would like to generate different kinds of tokenomics using Cosmos on different apps. And at the end, if you and then we would like to see if we can rely on osmosis or any other AMM that we can convert those tokens back into DSM. So think about that. If there is a decentralized app on Desmos that issues tokens, and then as a user, you can contribute your attention or your like interaction to the community, and then by building your reputation and interactions, you get rewards with that tokens.
Right.
By the AMMs, you can convert it back to DSM. So you become, originally you are just a user on the app, but eventually you become the stakeholder of the network.
Yeah, so a great incentive for people to participate as well.
Yeah.
All right. So I know you just mentioned Osmosis. I'm a great fan. Like I love the platform, and I've been using it a lot. But for those who don't, obviously this platform, this podcast is also intended for new people. So could you tell us a little bit more about why you want DSM to be on Osmosis and why it's beneficial for users already at this moment?
So, I think Osmosis is like the number one decentralized exchange on Cosmos ecosystem, and it basically proved the usage of IBC. I think before Osmosis, a lot of people still don't understand what IBC is, and Osmosis help people understand how easy we can use IBC to like transfer tokens to different zones, to different Cosmos zones, and use them for different purposes. Like Osmosis is the DAX, and the usage of the tokens would be swapping between tokens or providing liquidity pool, right?
Yeah.
So this is why we and Osmosis and the activity on Osmosis is pretty good in the last 6 months. And this is why we chose Osmosis to list DSM.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Something that I particularly love a lot about Osmosis is the easy use of it. Like it's very straightforward, it's very simple. And I feel like a lot of exchanges, you can get a little bit lost in all the technicalities, whereas they really created this platform that is super easy to use for everyone, which I think is very important. But yeah, so I'm very happy to have you guys on there as well. So I think for everyone would probably be very interested in learning a little bit more about what is coming for Desmos in the coming year and maybe even beyond. I don't know. Tell me.
Right. So we are going to launch an ecosystem grant so that we would like to encourage developers to develop some applications on Desmos, and then we would distributing grants quickly very soon. And we would like to see more applications developed on Desmos. Currently, we have a couple applications developed, a couple teams working on different applications. One is a Twitter-like app, which they utilize the Desmos profile as the identity for like tweeting on chain. And then maybe if someone knows about our airdrop, there's another application called the Go Find Me, developed by Gstick. So it's like a link tree on Desmos, and then we are talking to some private messaging platform as well. They would like to use. We are seeing how to make Desmos profile integrating with the private messaging platform as well. Yeah, and and we are looking for team to develop NFT on Desmos. And my personal long-term vision is to have a decentralized ad exchange that would work on Desmos.
Right.
So that we can have like an advertising exchange that could distribute back the advertisement income back to the end users. Right.
Yeah. That I think that's really cool. Distributing back and giving users more and more reasons to continue using these platforms, and maybe even stopping to use other platforms such as Twitter will be amazing. I know for me, the data stuff it's always a hard subject, especially for people that are active in blockchain. So from my perspective, it doesn't really make sense, as someone that's into blockchain, as someone that works for the blockchain space, to actually be using Twitter that much, if you think about it. So that's what I find very intriguing about Desmos.
Right.
And yeah.
So at the end, I think like advertisement would not disappear in our daily life. And I think social media is like a part of our life. We would use different kind of social media. If not Twitter, if not Facebook, if not IG, maybe we still use Discord, right? We still use a lot of different platforms to interact with different people. So social media is a part of our life, and a lot of people would like to rely on that to deliver the message, and so advertisement would not disappear. And currently what we can see is that like conglomerates like Facebook or Google, they just take over the entire advertising industry, and we keep spending time on those applications, on those like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or browsing the web, or or making search on Google. In the meantime, we are providing data to these conglomerates, but we get nothing from them. So in the meantime, while we develop the blockchain and looking for applications, we are also studying how we can profile the users by studying the behavior of the users, but not sending those data to a centralized system. So we are studying how to do that. We actually have a team studying if that's possible to like study those data using Oasis protocol.
Okay.
That would because Oasis protocol is a privacy first blockchain, so that we can study the data on Oasis, and then we train a model. Then we can integrate that model into some applications that actually work on Desmos. Then those machine learning would only appear on the desktop on the desktop or on the mobile devices, but not in a centralized system. And then we can have content delivery target to the end users, but no one can touch the data.
Right. And the end user will still gain from it. So that's also interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's a very amazing use case, and I'm very curious to see how that will work out. So I'm definitely keeping my eye on that. So before we get before we end this conversation, is there anything else that you would just like to share? Something that we missed so far?
I don't know. Well, the Desmos airdrop is still ongoing.
Yeah.
So the airdrop will end on the 25th of February. So if anyone if anyone did stake on Cosmos Hub or providing liquidity on Osmosis or the staker of Juno, or like actually we cover 11 Cosmos blockchain. And if you guys are eligible, and if you guys haven't get the airdrop yet, please try to get it.
Definitely. I will make sure to leave the link actually below so that everyone can check it out directly. And thank you so much for being here. It was really nice to chat with you.
Thank you, Giselle.